I've been playing chess for over 2 years, and every single day I thank God that I got back into the game. Because whenever I sit down in front of the board or my laptop to play, I get to come face to face with my inadequacies as both a thinker and a strategist. Because unlike life, which is so skilled at casting shadows in front of our eyes, chess provides you and I no such illusions. Whenever I load up a game and I finish, win, lose, or draw, Chess.com or Lichess will provide me an analysis of my play. The engine will show me exactly where I made mistakes, where I made inaccuracies, where I made good moves, where I made great moves, where I even made brilliancies, perhaps. And unless I choose to refuse looking at this analysis, I will get to see exactly how my mind worked during a particular game in the cold light of day, which again is so refreshing, because in life, you and I are not granted this cold, hard analysis of how we're moving, how we're acting, unless a friend or a family member or a coworker, a boss perhaps, comes up to us and says, "You're effing up, you're screwing up, you've been doing XYZ, I'm sick of it, I'm tired of it." You're not going to get the feedback you need, because first and foremost, humans do not like to give such feedback, especially in today's day and age. We live in a culture where being blatant is not acceptable, where calling people out is not acceptable, at least not in person. You and I have to act like polite people. We need to act cordial. We have to be open and generous and kind, all of these flowery terms, because if we're not, then we're seen as evil, seen as the other. It's very strange. But secondly, because people don't like to receive criticism. You and I do not like to receive critiques on how we're living, how we're thinking, how we're showing up on a day-to-day basis. We hate it. We like to live in our fantasy land. We like to live inside of our dreams. We like to live in a world of our making, a world that nobody else can enter unless they are one of the lucky ones, one of the chosen ones, perhaps an intimate partner or a best friend. Only those people get to share our dream world, and even they do not get to gaze all the way in, because we always have to save something for ourselves, right? People don't like to give criticism. People don't like to receive it. Or rather, people are not able to give criticism, and people do not like to receive it. But whenever you and I play chess, we are given that criticism, because the AI does not care. It will analyze our game, and it will show us exactly where we effed up. In the opening, it will tell me where I made an inaccuracy that allowed my opponent to capitalize. And even though my opponent did not take a commanding lead, gain this huge advantage, they built a tiny lead that they were able to snowball on over the course of the game that allowed them to eventually secure victory. The engine will show me that. The engine will show me where I blundered a fork, where I blundered a pawn in an exchange, where I blundered back rank mate. I remember when that happened 2 years ago when I got back into the game. I was blundering back rank like crazy. Every beginner knows. Very easy to do. Provide a luff for your king. If you don't, you will pay the price. But in any case, the engine will show you exactly where you're making mistakes. And what I love is that if you're willing to engage with this engine and look at the board, analyze what it's telling you, but then also come up with counter ideas that the engine is not seeing, and then counter ideas for your opponent, and so on and so forth, you train your mind to expand. You force your mind to open and widen, so that not only in chess, but in everyday life, you're able to see more opportunities, see more possibilities. And this is what you and I do whenever we sit down to journal. Whenever I sit down to journal, I ask myself, why did I do XYZ? Oh, is it because I felt some way? Well, why did I feel that way? Oh, is it because XYZ person is my life? Well, why do I have them in my life? I ask why, until I get to the absolute root, or until I exhaust myself. Usually B, because the absolute root, who knows where it is. But it's usually until I exhaust myself. And at that point, I'm able to get and understanding about why I did certain things in the past, how I've created these patterns for my life that I was unaware of prior to sitting down and writing, and how I can better address these mistakes in the future. But I'm only able to do this if I answer the questions honestly, if I give myself honest feedback, if I ask myself why and then actually give myself the true honest answer without hedging. Because if there's one thing human beings like to do, it's hedge whenever they're asked to give a true answer. We're all politicians. We're all political creatures. So unless I'm willing to give myself that true answer, I'm not going to get real honest feedback. But again, the engine in chess doesn't care. It asks you the question of why you made that move, and then it will give you the answer too. It will provide you the solution. It will give you the answer as to why you did it, and then it will give you the solution as to what you should have done, which is great. Because in life, you simply don't get this. And unless you're willing to dive all the way down to the absolute core by asking yourself the questions, which is not difficult to do, but simply requires muscling through it and having a curiosity to see what is really going on, you're just not going to get the feedback you need in this world that is so sugar-coated, that is so coddled. Yeah, I feel like an old head. I feel like an unk saying that, but it's true, because nobody wants to hear honest criticism, honest feedback. And it's a shame, because if you don't hear it long enough, life will throw it in your face. Eventually, the illusions fall down. Eventually, the curtains fall and the shadows are cast away and the cold, hard light of day comes. But when it comes, it's really cold and it's really hard and it's really bright and it sucks. So start playing chess first and foremost, because you'll train yourself to think. You'll train yourself to become a better thinker and strategist in everyday life, because you'll simply open up your brain to new possibilities, new tactics, new strategies. You'll train yourself to gather more information, make quicker decisions, think for your opponent, think about what the world is going to potentially throw your way, not just what you want to do, not just what you want out of life. Think about where the people in your life are coming from, what they want, your family, your friends, your loved ones, your coworkers, your spouse. You're going to be able to see through their eyes, get in their heads while also being in yours. But secondly, write. Ask yourself the question, why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? Why do I feel this way? Why does this person suck? X, Y, Z, all the way down. Because if you ask yourself that question openly and honestly until you exhaust yourself, you're going to see exactly why you've done everything in your life. And once you get that blueprint, there's nothing else for you to do but simply counteract it. Look at it and say, how do I do this better? Well, if this didn't work, why don't I try something else? And then you brainstorm. You don't need a guru. You don't need anybody to hold your hand through this process. You can do it all yourself. And that's the one lie that you've been told, is that you need a mentor. You need somebody who's been there before. No, you don't. You don't need a mentor. They can be helpful. They can be beneficial, but only in certain ways. Only in very limited cases. Only if they're the proper person. Only if they're particularly attuned to you, and if they actually are approaching mentorship in the right way. But truthfully, you don't need them. You can write it all out. You can analyze your thinking through playing chess, through playing a sport. And if you just do that every single day and remain conscious and lucid of who you are and where you're going, you're going to be perfectly fine. So with that, I say God bless. Have a great night. I'll see you in the next one.